Okay guys, this is my video review and unboxing of the Noctua NH-D15. The Noctua NH-D15 is a CPU cooler from Noctua, and it's been based off the design of their Noctua NH-D14, which was their flagship until now. The Noctua D15 is a revamp of the features of the NH-D14, and basically it's just made the NH-D14 a lot better. The NH-D14 has been around for about 4 years. It came out, I think, in the December of 2009, and this cooler came out in the month of April in 2014. And so this is the first thing you notice after you open the box. When you open the box, you've got the SecuFirm mounting hardware, which is made by Noctua. This one's the SecuFirm mounting for AMD, which I will be using, and I'm going to show you guys a video of the AMD mounting on the FM2 Plus socket. That's what I've got. And this is the mounting hardware for the Intel socket. It's got mounting for socket support for sockets 775, 1366, 1150, 1155, 2011, more or less all the sockets you can remember from the socket 775 days. And as for the AMD sockets, we've got socket support for the AM3, AM3 Plus, FM2, FM1, FM2 Plus, and if I'm not mistaken, even the AM2, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not too sure though. Basically a lot of the AMD sockets. If you have an AM2 socket and you're buying a Noctua NH-D15 worth $100, you've obviously got your priorities wrong. Alright, so let's go up to the more important box, which is this one, the long box. We open this up to see the parts you get inside. First, you get a custom screwdriver from Noctua, which is actually going to help you out a lot in terms of installation. A regular screwdriver wouldn't be as easy while installing the cooler, so this is something you should keep close to you. Apart from that, we've also got the iconic NTH1 thermal compound from Noctua. This is the best thermal compound out there in the market, in my opinion, and Noctua gives it to you with their cooler. Apart from that, we've got a Y cable, and this Y cable is for the two PWM fans which come along with the cooler. They are both 1500 RPM fans, and in case you don't have two pins in your motherboard and you need to use the Y cable, well, you've got one for you in the kit. Also, to reduce the noise levels of both the fans, we've got two low noise adapters which you can plug your fans into, and your fans will run at 1200 RPM, which is 300 RPM lesser, but they will be a lot quieter. These two are your fan clips, which will be used to hook the second fan onto your cooler, the heatsink. The fan which comes pre-installed is the one in between the two dual towers, which is already installed with these pins. And this is, again, like I said, for the second fan. We'll set that aside as well. You've also got these, which are the rubber grommets which will sit on top of your fans as you hook them onto your cooler. And we've got 4 screws, again for mounting. And last, the coolest part of the whole thing, it's a full metal Noctua case badge, and you can actually feel a metal block in it. It's pretty good, and I think this is iconic. Noctua should keep doing this. Apart from that, if we get the other cover off, great packaging by Noctua as always. We've got one of the PWM fans which you will be connecting. This is the second PWM fan which you will connect to the side of your CPU cooler, the heatsink. So I'll just get this out of the box to let you have a better look. So as you can see, it's a pretty big fan, and it runs at 1500 RPM. Now this is the NF-A15s. The NF-A15 fans which you would buy off the market would be a 1300 RPM fan, not as fast as this. These are higher RPMs, higher by about 300, which is 1500 RPM. And yeah, so you basically get the best fans out in the market, and Noctua just make them faster for your cooler. You should notice though that a lot of people who buy aftermarket who buy coolers which are AIOs, liquid coolers, they don't tend to use the fans that come stock with the liquid cooler. Instead, what they do is they swap them out for NF-A12s, which are the 120mm fans by Noctua. They're pretty good, and they add an aftermarket value to the cooler. But the thing to note about Noctua is you get those fans stock with the Noctua because they're Noctua fans. And what Noctua does is they just make them better. They make them faster for your CPU cooler. And this is the heat sink. Nothing on the box, but the top, it's got some detail. It's got a diagram of the heatsink with one of the fans in the middle. That's how you'll get it in the box. And it says the premium heatsink here, Noctua NH-D15 premium heatsink. We'll open this up and we'll check out how it is. Now, as usual, Noctua does a great job with their packing. So you pop it up, you just get this part open first, and then you get this opening like a door. You find the heatsink there. You've also got, I guess, another set of flaps to open on the top. Yeah, there's one, there's another, and you immediately find the cooler, which is pretty gigantic. We'll get it out of the box completely so you can take a better look. Now what you notice straight off the bat is the size of the cooler, which is just pretty big. It's gigantic. This is the dual tower design where we've got two dual towers. These are all aluminium fins. The heatsink's got aluminium fins. The base, if I'm not mistaken, is a nickel plated base, and these are copper tubing. You've got 6 heat pipes, and if you would notice, the difference between the Noctua NH-D15 and the 14 is you hold them side by side. The heat pipes are more displaced in the NH-D15 as compared to the 14, which makes this a lot better in terms of cooling. The more the displacement between those heat pipes, the better they cool. And also you can see that the last two are a little more recessed in towards the aluminium fins, so that the cooling of because the heat dispersal through the last two tubes won't be as much as it is from the 4 in the middle. So that's the reason they've done that. This is the central PWM fan, which you will have by default. Also, what's cool about the D15 and what the D15 did not have is the D14 did not have is, I'm sorry. The D15 is a lot taller than the D14 in terms of height, and you see this chop off over here, this little area where there's no aluminium fins. What this is for your random access memory. So now you've got the option of having taller memory, not necessarily low profile. So if you supposing have the Trident X or something, or the Corsair Dominator Platinums, what you could do is you could just hook up your memory here and have one fan with memory modules on both sides, the taller memory modules. Or you could have one fan, the memory modules on one side and the fan on the other, the second fan on the other. Or you could have one fan over here, the memory modules here, and this is something iconic. Instead of fitting your fan over here, you can increase the height and fit it a little higher. So what that would do is it'll give you clearance for your RAM sticks as well as let you use both the fans. But I highly recommend putting your RAM sticks on one side and the fan on the other. I guess it improves direct airflow. And I'm using the Ripjaws X from G-Skill, which I think should fit perfectly fine even if I put the second fan on. But I'm going to show you that in an installation video, which I will be taking later. And apart from that, this is the cooler itself. As I mentioned, the fan speeds will be 1500 RPM. Your heat block, this is where it is, and you apply your thermal compound on the CPU, just a rice grain, and you pop this on. And for now it's a little dusty, I'll just have to clear that up. Make sure you keep this clean before you apply it, and in case you remove the stock cooler from your CPU, make sure that you wipe off all the thermal compound off of it, and then you apply the NTH1 thermal compound afresh. As you can notice, there's like a little gap over here, but that's nothing to worry about. It's just for cooling, I'm guessing, and you can hook up the fan over here. So this is the Noctua NH-D15. It's gigantic. The only disadvantage with this cooler is that when you install it on your motherboard this way, the width of the cooler is so much that it will be covering one of your PCIe slots in most cases. So in case you do have a motherboard with just one PCIe slot and you're using a graphic card, this cooler isn't meant for you. You better check out that the clearance of the cooler with respect to your PCIe slot is enough to hold the cooler and your graphic card, because I guess there are some motherboards where the graphic cards on the first slot just fit next to the cooler. But in case your graphic card gets covered completely by this cooler, you should make sure that you don't use it. I'll be using an APU, so I don't really need a graphic card, and I'll be installing this cooler. Any which way, my motherboard's got 2 PCIe slots, so if you've got a motherboard with more than 1 PCIe slot, I don't think it's something you should be worrying about. Another thing you should notice is the cooler as it sits here. The width of the height of the cooler is 165 millimeters, so your case clearance should be above that. If your case is too small for this cooler, again, don't buy it. So please do check that out. I will also be giving you a link in the description of this video where you can see all the compatible motherboards with this cooler. And one thing to note is this cooler isn't just big, it's also very heavy. The cooler weighs about 1.3 kilograms with both the fans installed. And in case you haven't mounted this properly, which I doubt you would do because the Secufirm mounting hardware is pretty legitimate, but in case you have any mishaps during mounting, you should note that this is a very heavy cooler and it could damage your motherboard. And if this falls off, well, you're going to have a pretty big dent in your case. So this is the review of the this is my review of the NH-D15, and I will also be tagging another I'll be linking another video which is the installation of this cooler on the FM2 Plus socket.